MAP Initiative, and I'm joined by our amazing California MAP Initiative team this morning. And we want to jump right into our presentation this morning. And we ask that you would put any questions, comments, or ideas you might have in the chat and save. And we'd like to address those in the chat. And if we have time at the end, we could address those questions toward the end. We've got a lot of ground to cover. And so we would like to power through it, answer questions along the way through chat, and then use the end time if possible for those things. So let me share my screen, and I will be keeping my presentation, my slide deck presentation in the non-slide mode, so I can keep track of everything. So forgive me for doing that, but it'll just help me keep track of things a little bit better. Let's start by giving an overview of what we'll cover today. Today, we'd like to cover our 10-step procedure. This is a model procedure we'll be sharing with you today for onboarding and articulating and applying credit to student records. Next, we'll be showing you how we're handling global credit for basic training in what we hope is a new and convenient way. And then we'll talk about our changes to our student intake process, including a new CPL status setting that will allow us to conform to Title V requirements, and also how we make course, area, and elective credit articulations, and our new faculty approval process, which we're pretty excited about. Today, we have these goals for our cohort members. The first is that all eligible students will get their basic training units. We're hoping that in all 55 of our cohort colleges within the year, that we can make great strides in ensuring that all eligible students get their basic training units. We think that's an easy place to start and will give us a great progress with our veteran students statewide. The next is to have a functioning procedure to comply with Title V, 5505, sections J and K, and I'll share those in just a sec. And then a plan to capture students with industry credentials to analyze them for CPL. Again, that's to comply with Title V. And here are those Title V sections J and K. And J refers to when a student has their SEP, that will refer them to the appropriate authority for assessment of prior learning. This is for veterans and for those with industry credentials. And so we want to make sure that we can comply with that. And we think that the changes we're implementing today will help us do that. And the next one is that we will offer our students the opportunity to accept, decline, or appeal decisions and document that so that we can demonstrate that we do that. Okay, so our 10-step plan is 10-step standard operating procedure is right here. And it starts off with collecting a list of military students. And we'll get into each one of these in more detail. Collect a master list of military students, upload those, use that list to upload JSTS into MAP, Joint Services transcripts. And the third step is to meet with students for a student education plan. And the fourth is we want to ensure that we give them the correct global credit. And we're calling global credit as default credit for basic training for military students. And then the fifth is we want to start initiating our articulations. And we'll show you how that's done. And the sixth is to apply any articulated credit to a CPL plan for the student so we can keep track of it. And the seventh is that faculty and articulation officers approve those credits, those articulations. And the eighth is that we review, an evaluator reviews the JST assessment and forwards it to a counselor for its final step, which is finalizing the CPL plan with the student and forwarding to an evaluator who will, which is actually the final step, transcribe the CPL. This 10-step plan can be customized to your college depending on your situation, your history, and your existing procedures. Some of you might already be doing something very similar to this, and we don't want to imply that you're not, but it's our attempt to try to capture a general plan that will address Title V requirements and give you a convenient place to conduct your articulations and grant your credit.
And to Sam's point, you may be doing all of this stuff already or some amorphous way, but we want to integrate MAP with this as well, so we can help get those articulations stored within the MAP system. We can start sharing between colleges. But this is a way to kind of integrate the MAP process with the individual student's JST rather than a meta scale. It's directed at the individual student's standard operating procedure in your offices.
Thank you, Terence. Okay, so our first step is to gather a list of your military students. We think that this is probably a process that will involve your A&R and your VRC staff. And the step would be to gather a list of all military students. And we've given you a list of data elements that we believe would be helpful. And I'm going to put into the chat a copy of a more detailed version of this standard operating procedure in just a minute. So you'll have not the PowerPoint version, but a Word-based version, and it involves more details. And it gives you the list of the data elements that you would ask A&R and your VRC staff to put together for you so that you can gather a list of military students who use benefits, who do not use benefits. And here's a critical one: those who only indicate that they are military by CCC apply. And we believe that many of our veterans and military students do not receive the global credit or the credit that they would otherwise receive if they were using their benefits and they were certified at the VRC. So we want to make sure if your college is giving 3 units or 5 units or 6 units for basic training completion for military students, we want to make sure that all students get it, whether they're using their benefits or not, whether they're certified or not. And so our process is an attempt to do that. Okay, and then we suggest that this list should be refreshed weekly so that it can be sorted by the date that you add them to the list, and that VRC can conduct some outreach to applicants and either get them to the college as enrollees, or if they are enrolled already, work with them to make sure they get their credit. That's the first step. And we believe if we start with this step in all 55 of our cohort colleges and follow through with this process, we can get significant credits, course and area credits for our veterans this year with fairly minimal effort. The second step is to work from that list that you have, that master list, and gather all the JSTs, the Joint Services transcripts, and then upload them into MAP. And we think this would be handled probably by a VRC staff or a responsible party. This just depends on your availability of staff and what you typically, the resources you have available. And so VRC staff would use the list of all military students to upload the JSTs in the MAP. And to upload the JSTs, we want you to know that they have to have a summary page. That's what we use to parse their credit recommendations. So we've discovered that there are 4 different forms of JSTs that can be ordered by students. And the 4th form is their complete official JST, and Calvin will demonstrate that in just a second. But that's the best form to use. We recommend that you use the official copy, but the unofficial may be used as well. We've noted one other thing: when you are uploading JSTs into MAP, if you get your JSTs off of your imaging service of your college, let's say you've scanned it into your imaging service at your college, and you pull it back out to upload it, sometimes that imaging service adjusts the size of the JST, and it makes it very difficult to upload into MAP because it might be stored at a different resolution. So feel free to try to pull it off of your imaging service and upload it into MAP, and we'll show you how to do that. But know that that could cause issues depending on your imaging service. And there's an easy workaround, and that's just to get the original JST through your certifying official, and then use that version to upload into MAP. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Calvin, who's going to talk with you a little bit about this process for obtaining the JST. Just so you know, we know that most of you know this, but we're sharing it with you just in case.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Just to go back to the basics, we do have audience here that may not be familiar with the JST. So just a brief description. Joint Service Transcript is an academically accepted document provided by the Department of Defense that has been approved by the American Council of Education, or ACE, to validate service members' military occupational experiences, military course completions, descriptions of military occupations, and college level test scores. Now, what Dr. Lee is showing will be the JST home site, and I will actually share it on the chat right now. Now, for those who are familiar with MAP and evaluations and counseling, the designated person who has access to this could be evaluations department, it could be A&R department, it could be your school certified official or a responsible party. Now, what Dr. Lee is showcasing here is sign into the JST, username and password. Now, if you don't have access, you can definitely create one or request credentials. But once you do enter your username and password, Dr. Lee, next slide, please.
Sorry, a little slow.
Here, as a user for JST on the academia side, you will only have one box which will showcase view order transcripts. And once you click on bulk order transcripts, it will go to the next slide. And here it will state in a queue of all service members that have ordered officials transcripts to your institution's JST repository. On the right-hand side, there is an icon that will state that there is a print. From that point on, this is where you can save the PDF, and we do recommend and highly suggest to save it into a secure folder for the responsible party.
Thank you, Calvin. And when you do save it, we recommend that you white out or redact the Social Security number and the date of birth, and that you use that copy to scan into MAP, because MAP will save a scanned copy of the JST, and although only the ambassador and the evaluator have access to that scanned copy and that view, still we would prefer that those unnecessary private elements would be redacted.
And I want to jump in real quick because we showed, Calvin was showing what your school responsible party, the staff member, faculty member, whoever at the college would go through. But I want to reflect as a veterans counselor how easy it is to order that JST. It can be done lickety split and get to your institution within 24 hours. It costs the student nothing. It's a very easy process. Unlike ordering transcripts from other universities, it's far easier.
Okay, let's jump to step 2. So we've finished step 1 and on to uploading JSTs into MAP. And when you upload a JST into MAP, it will add a student record and the credit recommendations into MAP. And it allows you then from that student record to make changes to their program of study, educational goal, transfer destination, and set a CPL status. And this gets at complying with Section K, which will offer the opportunity to accept, decline, or appeal decisions related to credits of award. And we'll demonstrate these for you. Now, we're not changing the program of study in the SIS system or any of your degree audit systems. This is to keep a record, CPL record in MAP. Okay, step 3. Actually, let's go back and why don't we go ahead and upload a JST, Calvin? And I will stop sharing my screen and we'll demonstrate that.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. So now what I'm showcasing, this is actually my military transcripts from the military when I served back in 2011. So here, the only difference between what I'm showing you now versus what the institution will be receiving is that in this specific area, it will state an official document. But what we want in MAP that is instrumental will be the summary page, as this is where the credit recommendations will be taken from. So now I'll be logging into as an evaluator from San Bernardino Valley College. We're going to use them as a test sample. And if for those familiar in the audience, this is the home page, or what we call dashboard of map. But for today's purposes, we will focus on the left-hand side, which is the hamburger menu. Once you click on that, you will go to the students and simply click on student intake. So what you're seeing here is basically student intake and the student log. Before I upload the JST, I do want to highlight this red notice up here where it states if the JST you are attempting to load is missing a summary section, the student must be manually loaded. As I previously showed, my JST that I have downloaded does have the summary page, so it should successfully upload. So now as I select, I will select my own JST. I will open it and it will successfully upload. You see this green dot. Once you are ready, you can complete upload, or if you would like to do a batch upload, you can upload multiple JSTs at the same time. Once I select it, it will give you a prompt that will state it has been successfully uploaded. I will exit that. And now what you are seeing here is the student log. To give you a brief description of the student log, I will start off here at eligible credits. Again, the 37 is being captured from Calvin, or my JST, from the credit recommendations. And again, in that JST, it did capture my name and last, and on the right-hand side, it will indicate when the user has uploaded the JST. Two main icons I would like to focus on is the left-hand side, which is the star and edit menu. From the star, if you do select this menu, you will be open to what we call a CPL summary report. Here, it will again indicate the exhibits, which are the credit recommendations from the JST. And if you scroll down, it will show you the applied credits once you apply credits in the student intake menu. For today's purpose and training, we will focus on the edit. And once I click on this specific icon, it will take me here. So again, here will be the student's information. Again, I will be logged in as a evaluator from San Bernardino Valley College. And here I will enter my general information. For purposes, I will put Calvin at Outlook.edu. The branch from the JST was Navy. The origin, I am a veteran student. Ed benefits I did utilize during that time was Chapter 33. The program study, because it is aviation, I will click on power plant. And here, the program goals, during that time, I was interested in local and CSU.
Oh,
because
Calvin,
we are,
you chose preventative maintenance. You might want to change your,
apologies.
no worries.
Power plant maintenance and transfer destination. Again, I did put CSU, so we'll say San Bernardino. And right now, because we are about to start this process, we are going to indicate CPL plan in process, and I will simply save. Once that's successful, when I scroll down, what I do want to highlight here is the credit recommendations. It did, again, capture everything from my JST as a map parsed it out. And then Dr. Lee, back to the slideshows.
Great. We're going to come back to this screen, folks, so don't worry. This is just a general overview of that JST process, that JST uploading process. So we've completed this step. Now the next step is for the student to meet with a counselor, your VRC counselor, and determine their student education plan. And from that student education plan, we can confirm their program of study, their educational goals, and their transfer destination that Calvin just listed, actually. Sometimes you'll know that from CCC Apply, but then once you do an SEP, that's likely to change or become more specific. And so once you do that SEP, then you can go back in and update those in a map if they need to be updated. And then we're also going to delete any unneeded global credits. I'm going to get to global credits in just a minute. As a matter of fact, we'll get to it right now. So the term global credits may be new to you, and it's something that we've coined to refer to default credit or credit that all military students would receive if they complete basic training. And so different colleges have different policies on this. Some colleges give no credit for that. Others give 1 unit, others 3. Our district gives 5, and Bakersfield gives 12. And so it's a wide range of credits given to those who complete basic training. And so again, as we stated, one of our goals is to make sure that we make it easy and achievable for all of our veterans to get that credit, that basic global credit. The first step is to make sure that we have the correct data in MAP for your college. So we've gone through all of your catalogs and searched out the credit for basic training, and we've attempted to upload it into MAP, but we need your eyes on it, of course. And it's sometimes easy and sometimes very complex to sort through. And so if we could jump to Weston and have her show you a quick run through of that.
Okay, so you'll find this. If you are an ambassador, you will have access within the hamburger menu to the ambassador module within step 3. And if you are an ambassador, you're probably familiar with this, but within step 3, there is the data uploading portion where we have added this default area credit. And I can expand that. And then Dr. Lee, if you want to explain those details.
Sure. So let me choose my annotator. You can see this one is set up for Area E credit, and it has a 3 unit credits for Area E. And then in the title, it gives a little more detail on the options for applying that. We set this as area credit. It could be elective credit or it could be course credit too. Some districts and colleges give all 3. They give a unit of area credit, 2 units of elective credit, and 3 units of course credit. If there's a course credit, then you would select the course right here that actually gets the credit that it's tied to. If there's a transcript code, how this would appear on the transcript, we would ask that you would add it here. And if there's a link to your catalog policy or board policy on this, we ask that you would add that link in here. That way we can start a repository of all of these policies. And then if there are notes, add that. Here's a good one. We want to know your CPL limit. If it's 30 units, 32 units, 45 units. And then if you just waive an Area E credit, if this is used to waive credit, then we would want to know that. Just hit the checkbox. And we're not going to get into all of this right now. We don't have time because we could spend hours on this just alone. But I would say if you can make contact with your MAP customer success manager, then they will help walk you through this and make sure the metrics are in correctly. Once they're in here correctly, then we'll be able to automatically add this to the CPL plan for each of your eligible students. Okay, let's go back to
Sam, if I could really quickly, folks, you may be wondering why we're going into this so deeply. And I made the assumption that people had very similar policies. They are all over the map. So they vary significantly college by college. So this, though it seems a little tedious to go in and individually do your each institution, it's very important because you go 5 minutes down the road to another college and it may be significantly different for that experience of the student veteran for their DD 214. So very step, but please jump in there.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you know, it's fine that things are different, but they should be clear to the students. And we want to be able to facilitate the differences in our system so that it can accurately, correctly apply those credits to your veterans. Okay, so the next step is step 5. We want to initiate articulations. This is where the fun begins. And I would like to turn it over to Calvin, who's going to walk us through some articulations.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lee. So now from the student intake, I would just scroll down to where it states eligible credits. As you can tell on the top, the first blue section, this will be what we call our global credit for San Bernardino Valley College. But today we will showcase on how to create a course for course, an area, and an elective credit. Now, again,
let-
as I go ahead, Dr. Lee.
Calvin, let me just jump in real quick. We're still on Calvin's record here. So we're still on his JST. Let's just pretend we never left that JST upload page. We uploaded it. We're on his page. We've set his status and we're coming down here. Now we need to get to work on Calvin. He's sitting in your office or he's a student who's made an appointment with you and you want to make sure you can get things going with his articulations. Go ahead, Calvin.
Wonderful, thank you. Again, as the evaluator or the initiator of the creating articulations, as a power plant and aviation specialist, right here in the bottom where it says 3 hours in aviation safety, I see that that could be a direct match for a course at San Bernardino Valley College. So here I will select on the left-hand side, this button, and I will click on this icon, create. And what's happening is loading the credit recommendations and the course catalog from San Bernardino Valley College. On the left-hand side, I will click on here, which could be arrow 025 flight safety. And again, as the initiator of this articulation or evaluator, I see the alignment of flight safety and aviation.
So as it pulls up the catalog listing for that Aero flight safety course, you'll notice on the right side that there are 105. And so there's 105 of these occurrences here. And one of them is highlighted blue. The one that's highlighted blue is the credit recommendation from Calvin's JST, this aviation warfare apprenticeship training. So that's the one you're articulating now. But what MAP did is it went through the whole database of ACE articulations and it found every time there's 3 hours in aviation safety in one of the MOSs or ratings, one of the occupations or ratings, and it listed it here, and there's 105 of them. So if you wanted to, you could take this opportunity. If you think that aerospace flight safety 2 units is a good match with 3 hours, 3 units in aviation safety, you could select all of these and articulate them all at once. Or you could just select the one that you are working on there. And that's your choice, but it does give you that opportunity.
And to give you an example of that in real time, one of our MAP institutions in electronics technology, the faculty member kept doing, a handful at a time. And he said, hey, just give me a big grouping of them because I trust ACE at this point. I've done enough work with this. I want to do a batch. And he has about 100 different ACE IDs that he's articulated over to his electronics technology curriculum. So it can be done in batch after a while, after your faculty have learned the trust of the system.
That's a great point. Yeah, it is a developing trust. Okay, let's just do one of them though.
Yes, sir. Before I move on, I want to be able to state the notes here. We call it a justification screen. So whoever is initiating this articulation can create a case on why it should be moved forward in the life cycle, and they can even upload a document. So once I click articulate, you move on to the next screen. And over here in the left-hand side, it will automatically go to the faculty. And for, again, test purposes, we will just indicate it is a test. And I will submit.
That's going to return you back to the student information page. And as we scroll down, we'll see right here that this articulation was created right here with Aero flight safety. And you can see right here, it's 2 units that were articulated because Aero flight safety is a 2-unit course. And even though this was a 3-unit credit recommendation, in this case, you're getting 2 units of credit. And this is at the faculty stage, or this is at the faculty stage for approval. And so now we'd like to continue demonstrating. We'll demonstrate how the faculty approves this in just a sec, but Calvin's got a couple more demos to give you here.
So the second form will be area credit. So hypothetically, let's say this turbine engine laboratory is a different type of recommendation that meets a requirement from a CSU pattern or local. I will again click on the left-hand side. And this time I will decide to do area credit instead of create. So here it will actually give me the ability to choose exactly from where in the CSU or GE pattern it will be applicable. So for this purpose, we're going to choose physical science. And again, the same method as before, you will just verify the left-hand side, the exhibit, and again, you have the ability to indicate notes, and you will simply click on articulate. Once this happens, this will go into the articulating officer side. And Terence, would you like to speak on this?
Yeah, so those of you your systems are different at each of the colleges, right? Some a routing would go to an evaluator, some the counselor has the authority. But in general, typically, the reason we have it configured this way is typically the counselor and the AO do have the ability to do spirit of GE and have general education or elective equivalency without going to a disciplined faculty member. There typically isn't a disciplined faculty member that oversees all of area C2 in a general ed area, right? They only have their own discipline. So that's why this routing looks different than when it's a course for course. It can be configured to your institution's pass along process, but if you kind of wrap around your head the process of a student that came back from University of Colorado with a sociology course that you don't offer, but wants to get area D credit, this kind of parallels that process and procedure, the SOP. And also note that we're doing this as an example. We won't necessarily ever give credit for this type of course in area B1. We're just using it as an example course.
Thank you.
Okay. And again, before proceeding, you will write a message. For this purpose of training, I will indicate test and I'll click on submit. Again, what it does is just takes you back to the top of the student information under student intake. And if we scroll down, you will see that I've created two articulations, one for course equivalency, which is now in the faculty stage, and two will be an area credit, which is under articulation officer stage.
Okay, and now we have one more to show you, which would be for elective credit.
Yes, sir. So now let's choose a random credit recommendation. Let's say turbine engine and systems 4 hours. Simply, I will click on the left-hand side. And again, the icon we will decide to choose this time will be the elective. And once you click on it, it will prompt you a success that you have created an elective credit under that specific recommendation, as indicated here.
Okay. So now we actually have 4 types of credit that we've handled. If you scroll up just a little bit, Calvin, we've got our default global credit that was applied based on the principles, the policy that we added to this college. And then we have the elective credit, and scroll down just a bit. And then we have, get those boxes out of the way. Then we have our area credit and our course credit. So this is specific course credit. And now we need to approve these. We don't need to approve the elective credit because we have it set up in MAP currently. We believe that most colleges have a procedure that allows evaluators or counselors to give elective credit without specific faculty approval. Really, we reserve the faculty approval for the direct course credit because you have a discipline expert who understands the courses, and they would be the best authorities to determine whether that course credit should move forward. And so now we need to move forward with our approvals. So we will, the way this works is that once an articulation is initiated, let's say this one right here, it's initiated once a day. There's a process that runs in MAP that would batch all of the approvals together and email them to the proper faculty that are set up in MAP for that discipline. It's not set up to send each time an articulation is created because we've learned through experience that that's not helpful to receive these constant small approval requests. So it comes together as a batch. So right now, Pedro is going to initiate that batch process, which is going to send Weston, who's set up in this test environment as a faculty approver in aeronautics at San Bernardino Valley College. And this is the email that she receives. Go ahead, Weston.
Okay, so like Dr. Lee suggested, I have been set up with the subjects for this faculty user at SBD, Aero and Auto. So I've received this articulation package for Aero 25 flight safety, and then it gives me all of the details of the credit recommendations involved. And there are a couple of things that I can do straight from my email. So I can choose without further review to approve this articulation and send it forward to the next user, which would then be the articulation officer for review. I can deny this articulation, which would kind of stop it in its tracks so that the evaluator could view that that's been denied and then kind of reassess, or I could return it to the previous stage. So that would be the evaluator in this case. I can also view the exhibits that are associated with this articulation. This one would be for, again, this credit recommendation, 3 hours in aviation safety. And then I can also view the details, which will take me into the most in-depth version of what I can access through this screen. So I'll show you this because it kind of summarizes every action I can take from here. So if I open this up, I can see a couple of things. One, the course information is opened on the left-hand side, so I can review that. I can see all of the title of the package and everything involved. I can also view the articulation matrix, which shows that it is located in my stage, and then take action to approve, return, or deny this articulation and notify the user that follows. So, Dr. Lee, did you want to expand on that?
I don't think so. I think it's good. Why don't we just go ahead and assume that we approve it and demonstrate that process?
Okay, so it'd be the same as if you were approving it directly through the application. So you'll have the opportunity to notify the next user. Again, we'll just say
the next user would be the articulation officer.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's automatically defaulted depending on the stage. So if I was logged in as the articulation officer, then that would default me to approve to the implementation stage. And then submit. And then I can close this out and return to my email.
Okay, now if we go back to Calvin's student intake screen and we refresh it, we can see right here that it actually changed from faculty to articulation officer there. That means it's now at the articulation officer level to approve. And now, rather than have Weston log in as articulation officer and show you again that exact same process, she's going to go ahead and approve it from the ambassador or from her administrative level. She's going to push it forward to implementation, as well as this one to implementation, as if it went through the approval process again. And once she does that, and we refresh this screen, it should show up as implementation.
Good to go.
Okay, so we've got our implementation there. So now the reason we took you through implementation phase is because now we want to enter the next step, which is to apply the credits to the student's plan. So now you've done the work, it's articulated. And by the way, when you do a course articulation, you don't have to do it again for this MOS, it's done. So the next veteran who comes in, this is going to pop in on their, when you upload their JST, this is going to automatically pop in and be ready for you at implementation phase. So that's one of the benefits of using MAP, is that once you do it, you don't have to repeat it. That's one of the benefits of using the batch too, because once you do it, all those batched ones are going to be ready for the next veteran that comes in. Okay, so now let's go ahead and apply these credits.
Sir. So what I'm going to do now is select the elective, select the area, and select the course, and I will simply apply selected articulations. It will give you a prompt to make sure that is the function you'd like to do. You press OK. Once that's completed, if you scroll down, it will showcase all of the articulations that's been applied to the student's record.
Yeah, and there is a question in the chat I do want to answer right now. Is there a way to apply more than one in this? I believe in this interface, it's a 1-for-1, but in the normal in the home interface in the dashboard, you can apply more than one. So this is kind of intended to be a quick launch for you, so that you can sit across from a student and do the articulations, or you can begin to work at them from one JST at a time. I think at this time, Weston, Brook, and Pedro, these are 1-for-1s only. Am I correct? Yeah, I think I see nodding heads. So if you want to create 2 credit recommendations to 1 course, you can do that at the home screen, at the dashboard. Okay, let me go back to the presentation. And I think we're doing pretty good on time. So we have applied the credit. We have applied the credit. And when you apply the credit, we suggest in our step 6 that you go and set the CPL in process. And it's still not ready for completion. The next step is a faculty approval. We just did that. Here's the next step after you've approved articulations and you've applied some of them to the student's record. Now it's time for the evaluator to review that JST to see if there are any remaining articulations that can be made. Sometimes this is a time when the evaluator says, you know, I see more opportunities for elective credit because there's more need for elective credit in the student's degree, local degree, or CSU degree. And those elective credit can be applied in the same way we just demonstrated. And once they feel secure that they've exhausted all the possible types of CPL for the student, then they're going to set the status CPL plan complete. And I've given you a little screenshot of that. It's the same status that we've used previously. Now, this is important because this signals that it's complete from an evaluator's point of view and it's ready to go to the counselor. And let's see. Here we go. Step 9 is then once the evaluator is done with it, it goes to the counselor, and the counselor is going to ensure that the student accepts this CPL. These can be combined with the previous step. It depends on your process. This can be abbreviated by one step, or it can be used in this step to assure that there is clear opt-in or opt-out right here using that CPL status. Here's also the chance for the VRC counselor to give a PDF version of the CPL plan to the student. And it's also an opportunity to use that same CPL plan for the evaluator in the next step, which is, which is ready to transcribe or ready for transcribing. So once those changes are done, the CPL plan can be either emailed to the evaluator for a record, or the evaluator can directly access it in MAP, and that would be the record for transcribing. That is the process. And we want you to know that we have a step-by-step guide that Weston and Brook have put together, and they're going to put an attachment in the chat if it is already in the chat. And you can also use the chat function in MAP when you're using these features and get real-time help from your MAP success managers. We would also encourage you to consider setting up regular meetings with a MAP success manager, either weekly or bi-weekly, to make progress on your articulations. And we want you to have the link as well for the training site, so you can go on and play around with this without harming anything in your production site. And here's the link as well. I had some homework that we would hope to assign you, if you would be so kind, and that would be in the next week to upload one JST, and then contact customer success if you have any issues. That will help us. We believe we are tracking down all the different variables that we need to consider when uploading JSTs, but there are a considerable number of variables, and the only way we can really track down all of them is with your help. And so we would ask that you would upload a JST or more JSTs, upload a batch of JSTs, and then notify your MAP Success Manager of any issues you might have. The next would be to review your global credit settings and then approve those. And we would ask that you would notify your MAP Success Manager as well if you once you approve those, once you believe that they're accurate. Feel free to work directly with them on those settings as well. And then two more. We would ask that you consider articulating one full JST for a simple JST, for instance, like MOS 0311, which is a fairly common JST, and it's not a lot of units. So it should give you an opportunity to make sure your global credits are right, apply some elective credits, and maybe one course credit.
And those of you in audience that are in your VRCs, we recommend starting with your VA work studies and say, hey, let's kick the tires with the guys and gals that work in our office. Say, would you mind sharing this? We're not going to apply it on a transcript yet. We're just going to, kick the tires and see what it works with your JST and MAP. Highly recommend that as a starting place, and you'll find how easy the process is. And then you can start branching off to your general veteran population at your college.
And then the last is, hey, register for the summit on October 28th, our third annual CPL summit, if you haven't already. We'll be rolling out a very similar presentation to this in one of our sessions, but we have a lot more to share with you, and should be a good time. So please consider that. Also, we need your input on some upcoming initiatives and items. And Terence, do you want to speak to these?
Yeah, the statewide academic senate's asking for faculty input, but I think we're a big tent here in the community of colleges we have in MAP. But these are a couple links that had been sent out for surveying about the new Cal GETC, the new general education pattern. As by legislation, Assembly Bill 928, we are going to be putting the Cal State GE and the IGETC together and creating what some are terming Cal GETC, so a new general education pattern. Highly recommend that we all give feedback in that. I see some AOs in the crowd, so there's always concern about when the Cal State has this policy with a certain thing like credit for prior learning, and the UC may see it differently. How is that applied in a shared general ed pattern? So those conversations are going on at the highest of levels. And we ask that you do consider going through some of these surveys or sharing your input. Oh, Sam, your docs are popping up.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying to get that SOP. I'm trying to get that set for your chat. Thanks for doing
it. Awesome. Yeah, but again, be vocal about this new general education pattern to advocate for our reentry students, because it will have implications on the veteran population, but also industry credentials, CLEP, AP, everything else that kind of falls in the large tent of CPL.
Okay, well, that is great. We, I think, did better on time than we thought we might. And we have time for questions or input, thoughts, and we have a little time to go back to any areas that were unclear. So we'd like to throw it open to folks, or if there's something that came up in chat.
One comment I did want to make is that all of this information will be, the recording of this as well as the PowerPoint will be put up on our website, the maprccd.edu that Calvin also sent. So if you are looking for that, it will be up there in the next week or so.
Great. Thoughts or questions? Welcome.
I want to say, first of all, this was really a great presentation. This is kind of the level of detail I wanted to see. I'm about to have my high-level meeting at my college about all of this, to get our A&R people engaged, my vice president of student services and so forth, because this is a full court press. The one question I still have is, when I tell faculty, here's a military course, and we'd like to give them credit for our course at MPC, I'm telling them what I want them to do, but I'm not giving him the information as to why I think that's a good idea. And I know that information comes through ACE. They have some really, great lists of objectives on what the different courses do. So is there ever going to be a time where MAP will link to that information, or should, if that comes up, should I provide that information as additional information? Because there's going to be some back and forth with faculty.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Vincent, we had you in mind, I guarantee you, when we were working on this presentation, because we figure if we can get the changes in place that Vincent needs, we'll be a step in the right direction. We do know that that's one that we haven't yet gotten to. We have videos in production right now aimed at faculty that we've spent some time scripting out, trying to make the case from a faculty point of view why this is important. What about ACE? What goes into an ACE credit recommendation? Why they should trust it, and then what they're being asked to do, and what steps they need, what steps they're being asked to take. So those are in the process.
Okay. And I hope it's not just that I need it. I hope it's just that's a tool that everybody needs, because faculty ask questions.
We view you as kind of you're the representative sample. So we know if we can satisfy your needs, it's going to meet everyone's needs, I think.
Yeah, I promised my faculty we wouldn't sprinkle credits like pixie dust, that it would be very well thought out and backed up. So.
Yes. I think you'll be able to keep that promise. And we've thought about putting out PowerPoints for faculty, but I believe they wouldn't get much view. So we're trying to create something that we think would be fairly easy to view and could be sent out as a link.
That's the balance of the global universal impact, but everything ends up being at the human level and the one-on-one trust level. So, I can encourage as much as I can, professional development week, flex week, those presentations just continue the dialogue. And then it does end up coming down to, 8 to 12 different disciplines overall. It's not going to be your English faculty, right? It's not. So you end up targeting some of this because of the nature of what JSTs you're seeing, what your student veterans look like, and also what disciplines are even willing to engage the conversation. That whittles it down significantly.
Yeah, and I think to that point also, our whole new strategy, I call it a new strategy, it's really a focused strategy on students in front of you. Rather than just developing articulations to try and get all your articulations in, it's developing it for a student in front of you or at your school. And when you can do that, and when they're in a faculty member's class, that's how we got our first articulations at the college, was with a faculty member who had a veteran in his class, in his electronics class. And he said, hey, this guy could teach the class. What's he doing in my class? Started looking at his JST. And that's how we got all the articulations started for him. And so if you are in the process of developing these articulations based on the JST, you put in a map, and that student is a current student, you can make that connection with the faculty. And then they can actually get some confidence even through the veteran, through meeting that veteran and talking to that veteran about their experiences. That is also another helpful point of contact for faculty.
And I will say some of the recommendations do sometimes fall out of the career tech, because I've seen, for example, recommendations for speech, if you're a mass communication specialist, or for journalism, or those kinds of things. So yeah. And also, where I know that CSUs will accept the credits, where are we with the UCs now? I'm sure that hasn't happened yet, but
it's by campus at this point with the UCs.
It's still by campus.
We're starting the dialogue with the UCOP personnel, but they're governed individually, so it's just a different system setup. I don't want to just give anecdotal stories, but I can say at UCLA, JST credit has been accepted for elective to get someone up to 60. I have case samples of students that have done that. But does that happen with every evaluation of every student? I can't speak to that because it's not a policy, it's an individual review. So we're looking to engage on more of a policy level, even if it's a low bar across the UCs. We want to have some type of standard and policy. That's what we're hoping for, but we're just starting that dialogue. The Cal State have been great. In the last year and a half, we've moved mountains with the Cal State. So, I really commend them.
Yeah, and we're discovering too that Cal States give a considerable amount of CPL in even area credit, and so we are working. One of our projects moving forward is to move that those articulations into MAP, so that you can access those CSU articulations right in MAP, and then you'll have assurance if you're giving area A1 credit to a student. Well, you'll know that Cal Poly Pomona gives it as well, and for that same MOS. So you'll be more assured that you can do that. So that's pretty exciting. We would ask that if any of you have relationships with your UC, a local UC, and you do know you have some conversations, please loop us in on those conversations so that we can be involved. We're also talking with working with the Chancellor's Office on possible clarification on Title V, 5505, Section D, which refers to only course catalog, only courses in the catalog can be used for CPL. We're working on a clarification of that to ensure that we can apply both area credit, as is our long custom actually, in Area E credit, as well as elective credit. So that's under process, and we'll keep you informed as we get any sort of clarification on that as well. But they've been great to work with. Chancellor's Office has been great to work with moving forward. So thank you, folks, for joining us today. Thank you for the good work that you're doing on behalf of our students. We're starting to see some real momentum. We're learning from our interactions with you. We want to encourage you to think of us like your team. We know that some of you are a team of 1, some of you are a team of 10. We want you to think of us as part of your team. If it comes to working your JSTs into MAP, or working on some articulations, or working with faculty, please stay in close contact with your MAP success manager, with us, with me, with Terence and Calvin, and Weston and Brook. And just consider us part of your team.
And I'll be the curmudgeon. Please do your homework in the next week. We'd love it if you bring those 4 assignments back to your CPL team and try to accomplish those, getting that first JST in, get that global credit. If you can knock those things out, it's gonna do wonders for your student veterans.
And so just a question, I did write the directions for the homework assignment, but you had them on your PowerPoint. So we get the PowerPoint anyway, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I should put the PowerPoint in the chat right now.
Yeah.
Let me do
Thank
that.
you guys so much.
Yeah. I'm going to put the PowerPoint in the chat right now, so you'll have that. Thank you, everyone who's, here we go, hold on.
Golden West, go Rustlers.
Okay, there's the PowerPoint, and I'll see if I can put that, if I can find that standard operating procedure, which I was looking for. I just seem to have lost track of that one. Hold on, folks.
Maybe send that out in the follow-up email.
Yeah, I'll send it out in the follow-up email, and that way we'll get you out on time. And I'll send it out to everyone in the MAP distribution list. Thanks so much for everyone for coming, and we're going to get you out right on time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.